right? So this brother Aliyah, right? And we going into the feast dedication, man. Where you find dedication, right? How do you keep it, right? What is the origin of it? So you find it. Oh, now let's go and where you find that in the New Testament. Right? This is where you hear about the New Testament. So we go to the book of John chapter 10, verse 22. John 10 and 22. Lock it. Book of John chapter 10, verse 22. And it says, and it was at Jerusalem the feast of dedication, and it was winter, right? And Yahushua walked in the temple in Solomon's porch, right? So it's talking about the feast of dedication, right? Now, one, we know that it is winter, right? And we know that Yahushua was keeping, he was there with it, right? He was there, right? So the feast of dedication, right? Now, when you go into the high holidays at Passover, feast of tabernacles, feast of first fruits, right? Blowing the trumpets, a day of atonement, things are mentioned, and they're mentioned in Leviticus chapter 23 and various other chapters, right, throughout the Bible. Now, going into Purim, right? That's mentioned in Esther, right? Day of Simon and feast dedication. These things are mentioned in the book of Maccabees, right? So we're gonna go into the accounts of it. So let's go to First Maccabees chapter 4, right? And this during the time of the rulership of Judas Maccabees, right? The rulership of Judas Maccabees, which was let me get that in the right here. I have the illustrated Bible study Bible, right? That's going it has a insert here about the time, right? So it says Judas Maccabees right here in this right here. Judas Maccabees, right? So feast dedication, it came from the time of doing Judas Maccabees, right? Right, originated from that time, which was from 166 BC, right? 166 to 160 BC, right? So that was during that time period, right? That's the time period of the rulership of Judas Maccabees, right? So let's read a bit. Let's read a bit about Judas Judas Maccabees, right? So this is a intertestament it says intertestamental history, right? Intertestamental history, right? So let's get a backdrop about Judas, right? It says leadership fell to Judas, right? The third son of Mattathias. This is after Matthias died. He says his nickname Maccabeus, the Hammerer. He probably received this title because of his success. He was an ideal guerrilla leader. He fought successful battles against much larger forces. A group of the Hasidim made up the part of his army. These men were devoutly committed to religious freedom. They were dedicated to obedience to the law and the worship of Yahweh. Right? So these men, right, and they was dedicated to this thing, right? They was dedicated to the law, right? Dedicated in worshiping the Lord, the Most High, right? Yahweh Shem Yahweh, right? Let's keep reading. It says Antiochus IV, right, was more concerned with affairs in the eastern part of his empire than that was taking place in Palestine. Therefore, he did not commit many troops to the revolt at first. Judas was able to gain control of Jerusalem within 3 years. The temple was cleansed and rededicated exactly 3 years after it had been polluted by the king. Right? So the temple was polluted by Antiochus, right? Then 3 years after that, right? Judas Maccabees, he was able to gain control over it, right? And he cleansed the temple and he rededicated. That's where we get the Feast of Dedication, right? So we're getting a whole the history account of this thing, right? It says dates through this period. All right, hold on. It says this is still commemorated by Jewish Feast of Hanukkah, right? But we call it feast dedication, right? I call it feast dedication straight like that, right? The Hasidim, right, had gained what they were and left the army. Judas had larger goals in mind. He wanted to, all right, that it just goes on and on and on. But the point is, right, we understand, right, that it says that he had the ability to gain control of Jerusalem within 3 years the temple was cleansed, right? That's the point we're looking into, right? 100, that says 164 BC. So around 164 BC, that is when Judas Maccabees cleansed the temple and rededicated. Right. So now we're finna read that out of the we gonna read that account in First Maccabees chapter 4. Right. We just read it out that we just read intertestamental history. Right now we're gonna read this account in more in depth in First Maccabees. Right. So. Right, so First Maccabees chapter 4, right? So we're gonna go and we're gonna start at verse 36. It's right. So then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse, right, and dedicate the sanctuary, right? So now it's time to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary because Antiochus, during his time, he defiled the temple, right? Let's see if we right. So go into, let's see what they have see what I'm looking for real fast. Oh, that's not the count, but okay. Anyways, so let's go on. Let's continue on reading. Right, it says, upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up to Mount Zion. Right, so we don't have a temple right now. The temple right now is our bodies. Right, so we should be rededicating our temples to the Lord. Right, our temples has been polluted. Right, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's see how we are. Our bodies is the temple. Right, so when we think about the feast dedication, how our forefathers went and they cleansed the temple now, right? That has been world by Babylon, right? By these other philosophies and doctrines, right? So we gotta cleanse our temple, right? We gotta rededicate that to the Most High, right? So let's go to it. It's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 16. It says, need not that ye are the temple of God, and that your spirit and that the spirit of God dwelleth in you. So our body is a temple. So this right here is a temple. Here. That's all that we don't defile it. Right? A lot of people they defile this temple, right, when they commit adultery, right? When they covet, right? When they do idolatry, right? When they eat abominable foods, right? So we gotta be careful about how we treat this temple, because we have mighty forefathers that fought and cleansed the temple, right? And look what a lot of people doing right now. They're defiling the Lord's temple daily, right? So it says, if any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. Right? So we got to make sure that our temples continue to be holy, be cleansed, right? Being separate, right? That's what it is when it says being holy. We got to be separate, right? And how do we separate our temple from any other thing, right? The law, statutes, and commandments, right? It says, so let's go into it though. Let's go into it. Let me go to Psalms chapter 119. Right? This is how we cleanse our temple. Psalms 119. Let's go to that. 119:9. Bear with me, I'm going to it. Psalms 119:9. This book of Psalms chapter 119 and verse number 9 says, wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed thereto according to thy word. So that's how you cleanse yourself, right? By taking heed to the word, right? That's how you do it, right? Cleanse your way is by taking heed to the word of the Most High God, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, right? That's how you cleanse your ways, right? Cleanse that temple. That's how we cleanse the temple, by taking heed to the commandments, right? Let's get precept. Ephesians chapter 5 and verse number 26, right? Says that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, right? So by cleansing our temple with the is with the word, right? So we gotta cleanse these temples with the word, man. Keeping these commandments, right? That's what we gotta do. So you don't want to defile the Lord's temple, right? So we as Israelites, right, we got to make sure that we get in the spirit of rededicating our temple, right, to the Most High God. All right, so let's go back to Second Maccabees. First Maccabees, chapter 4. All right. First Maccabees, chapter 4, and we was at verse 38 now. It says, and when they saw the sanctuary desolate and the altar profaned and burnt up in shrubs, right, and growing the courts, right, growing in the courts as in a forest or in the mountains, yea, the priest's chambers pulled down. So when they came and seen the temple, right, it had burnt marks on it, right? It was desolate, right? It was purely desolate. Nothing was there. You got to think about like think about an old abandoned building, right? An old abandoned building, right? You see it, right? When you see this old abandoned building, right? It ain't got nothing sitting there, right? It got trees, grass, kind of sitting up, right? That's how the temple was looking, right? Burnt marks on it, right? And it says in the forest and one in the mountains, yeah. Chambers was pulled down. So you had the priest chambers, they was pulled down. Right? It was desolate. Our sanctuary at that time was desolate. Right? And that's us without Yahweh Shai. Right? That's us without keeping the commandments. Our temple is desolate. Right? When we was in the world, we was desolate. We had burn marks on us. We had shrubs growing on about us. Hey, we looked at messed up, right? When we was in the world. Right? When we come inside this truth, we clean ourselves up, right? We throw out the shrubs, right? We clean out the burn marks. We throw away all of the things that we had defiled ourselves with, right? That's us. That's what we gotta do through the Spirit, right? It says they rent clothes and made great lamentation, and cast ashes upon their heads, and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, right? And blew an alarm with the trumpets and cried towards those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So and that kind of remind me of the time like in Nehemiah, right? You had people fighting, had to get ready to fight, be prepared for battle. You had people building up the walls. I'm gonna get that precept. I'm gonna get a precept, man, on that, man. Hey, that's how we gotta be through the Spirit, man. We gotta be in the spirit of fighting and building, right? Sometimes you fighting demons, right? And then times you building, right? We gotta be fighting and building at the same time, fighting the flesh, right, and building ourselves up through the Spirit, man. Read this account real fast. Right? This is the book of Nehemiah, chapter 4, and I'm going to start at verse 16. It says, and it came to pass from that time forth that half of my servants wrought in the work, and the other half and them held both spears and shields behind all the house of Judah. So you had some workers, right? They working, building, and you had some that had spears in their hand. Same thing that was going on in the time of Judas Maccabees. Right? They was cleansing the temple. You had some fighting the people in the fortress, and you had some cleansing the temple. Right? It says, they would build it on the wall, right? And they that bear burdens with those that laid it, every one with his hands wrought in the work, and with the other hand held a weapon. Right? So, hey, that's how we gotta be through the Spirit. Hey, man, one hand we working on ourselves, right? One hand building ourselves up, right? We're examining ourselves, right? We strengthen the thing that's about to die, right? And then the other hand, we got our sword, right? Ready for any attack from the enemy, ready for any attack from Satan. That's how we gotta be through the Spirit, ready, right? Just like our forefathers was, right? Through the Spirit, right? It says, for the builders, everyone had his sword girded by his side, and so builded that he sounded the trumpet was by me. Right? So we got to have our swords by our side. Right? We got to have our swords through the Spirit by our side. Right? As we're building. Right? And as we're cleansing the temple. Right? So let's go back to the account that we was reading. Right? So it says, cleanse sanctuary. It says, so he chose priests of blameless conversation, right? Such as had pleasure in the law, right? We got to take pleasure and delight in the law, right? We got to take delight in the law, man. We got to, man. We got to. We get a precept. We get a precept in Sirach. See if we can find that. Yeah. I'm gonna get Sirach chapter 23 and verse 7, right? Because there's nothing better. It's nothing better nor sweeter. It's nothing better or sweeter than keeping these commandments, right? It says, and they that remain shall know, this is Sirach chapter 23 and 27. It says, and they that remain shall know that there is nothing better than the fear of the Lord, and that there is nothing he of the Lord. You know it's nothing better. You know nothing sweeter. Hey, you can delight in it. Delight in it. Delight in it. Right? And these men, right, these choice men, right, hey, they knew that it was nothing better than the fear of the Lord. They knew that it was nothing sweeter than to take heed to the commandments. Right? They knew these, right? He says, who cleansed the we back at First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 43 now. He said, who cleansed. Some of us still got the files inside us, right? Think about this. That was a physical. They had physical stones that they was throwing out, but through the Spirit, some of us have the foul stones still within the temple that we need to cast away, that we need to throw away, right? And that's going into self-examination, right? Examining yourself, right? Paul said, I die daily. Hey, that's casting away that foul rock, right? Dying daily, cutting off the old man. Right, let's go to that real fast. Paul said, I die daily. I die daily. Let's get that. If I find it real fast. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse, I by your rejoicing, which I have in Hamashiach Yahushua, our Lord, I die daily. Right? So us dying daily, right, is us casting off that stone, that polluted stone that's inside the temple. Right? We gotta die daily in this thing. Right? We gotta die daily. Constantly examining yourself, right? Constantly putting down that old man. Right, let's go to Ephesians chapter 4. Right? Let's go to that. Ephesians 4 and 22. Let's go there real fast. All right. Let's see if we get that. Ephesians 4 and 22. Book of Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 22. Right? It says, that ye put off concerning the former conversation, the old man, which is corrupt according to deceitful lust. Right? Hey, and that same old man, that's those same defiled stones. Same thing through the Spirit. That old man is as though the foul stones that you had that the priest had to throw out, right? Those sins, those lustful ways, and you gotta cast them away from you, right? And it says, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, right? That you put off the new man. That you put on the new man, which after Yahweh is created in righteousness and true holiness, right? So let's go back to First Maccabees chapter 4, right? In verse 43, it says, who cleansed the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, right? The altar was profaned, right? Because they sacrificed swine's flesh on it, right? You got some people right now to this day willingly to defile the Lord's temple, willingly to put abominations inside the temple, right? So we can't be through the Spirit, right? So let's keep going. It says, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should approach them because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in the convenient place until there should come up a prophet to show what should be done with them. They took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former. Right, let's get that what they're talking about, right? Let's get Exodus 20 and 25. Right? Let's get that real fast. Exodus 20, right? In verse 25. Right, it says, and if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone, for if thou wilt lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast put. They understood, all right. They understood that it was a certain way that they had to certain stones they had to use, right? And that's certain, and that's just like us. It's a certain stone that we gotta use, right? We gotta use Yahweh Shai, right? Yahweh Shai is the chief cornerstone, right? We gotta use him. Let that be your foundation, right? Of cleansing your temple. After you done got out all those old, you got all of those demons out, right? All those lustful ways, all for ways, right? Those old stones, right? Now you gotta put in that new stone, right? The right stone, which is Yahweh Shai, right? There's the stone that the builder used, right? Now we get that stone, right? And we build off that, right? We gotta use that stone. Yahweh Shai is the chief cornerstone, and we build that. And if that's and if your foundation, your temple is built off that, right? Now that's truly rededicating your temple, right? Truly rededicating your temple, right? Which is the Lord's temple. Now I can say your temple, but the Lord's temple, because our body belongs to the Most High, right? It says, keep going though. It says, and laid the stones in the Salakia. Okay, yeah. It says, and they made First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 49. It says they made also new into the temple. They brought the candlestick, right? They bought the candlestick. This is the candlestick they talking about, right? This is a little one, but it's a seven stick seven branch candlestick right here, right? That's what we gotta have, right? Menorah, man, right? That's why we light the menorah and things like that, right here, right? And that's not why we light the menorah. That's one of the things that we have during the feast of dedication, though. You know what I'm saying? Because this is what they did. We were doing what our forefathers did, right? So it says the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted that they might give light into the temple, right? And we gotta make our light shine, right? Didn't our scripture say, "Let your light shine bright before men"? Right? Let's get into that, man. Right? We looking at the acts they did of old, right? But we looking at it with a spiritual aspect, right? We looking at a spiritual aspect, man. You gotta look at it like that, right? Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. I'm gonna start at verse 10. I'm gonna start at verse 14. This whole thing is beautiful. Right? It says, "Yea, ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid." Right? We are light. How are we a light? Because we follow after the true light, which is Yahweh Shai. Right? The Lord, He gives us light. So through Him we shine. Candlestick lit, right? Burning bright. Right? It says, neither do men light a candle under a bushel, but on a candlestick give a light unto all that are in the house. Right, verse 16. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So we gotta let our light shine through the Spirit, right? We gotta let our light shine. We gotta be on fire in this thing, letting our light shine through the Spirit of Yahweh Shai, which gives that light, right? Let me go to Luke real fast. Luke chapter 1. Luke chapter 1. Is that what I'm looking for? No, chapter 1. John chapter 1. I'm gonna touch on this light real fast. Then we're gonna go back to First Maccabees. Right. We gotta make sure our light is shining through the Spirit, right? Making sure that we're shining, right? It says, let's go to this John chapter 1, And I'm gonna go to verse 7. It says, the same came for a witness to bear witness of the light, that all men through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to that was the true light, which light up every man that cometh into the world. Right? So that true light, that's Yahweh Shai, right? Our King, who's died for us, right? And he gives us through light, that way we can have our candles lit, right? The Spirit, if you hear what I'm saying, right? So let's go back to and we're gonna go to verse 51. It says, furthermore, set the loaves upon the table, right, and spread out. Now 25th day of the ninth month, right? So on the 25th day of the ninth month, right? So this is where we find out when is the feast dedication. So on the 25th of the ninth month, right? So the no moon in the sky, the full moon on your ninth month, right? On the 25th day, right? That is the beginning of the feast of dedication. All right, 20 on the ninth month. So we keep the full moon, right? So we keep ours on the 22nd at sundown, right? For those that keep the no moon in the sky, they already did theirs. So this is when the feast dedication is the ninth month, right? On the 25th day, right? So it says, which is called the month of Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings that which they had made. Right. So we gotta have a new altar within ourselves. Right. We gotta be that new man within ourselves. Right. We gotta have new offerings. Right. Because before we had polluted offerings that we gave to the Lord. Right. Now we gotta come with new offerings. Right. I want to get a precept. Cause we want to make sure that we be that. Let me get this. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 15. And I'm going to verse 15. I mean, so that's like it. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 15. Like it. Like it. So in a feast dedication, right, and you gotta be turning up through the Spirit, right? In a feast dedication, right, you gotta have your nice music playing, right, turning up through the Spirit. You gotta have trumpets, blowing the trumpets, right? You gotta get into that thing, right? In the feast dedication, you gotta get into that thing. It's not a time to kind of be sitting there like this. Man, it's the feast dedication. Dang, man. Now you gotta get, man, it's the feast dedication. You gotta get with some brothers, turn up through the Spirit of righteousness, man. Feast, have a nice feast, man. Have some wine or whatever you do, you some young, man, and have a good time through the Spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, right? It's not a time to be sitting here being sad with your arms crossed and a mean mug on your face. You know, you got to get in the Spirit and be happy, be joyous, right? Because our forefathers rededicated the temple, right? Cleansed it, right? Through the Spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, a new temple, right? And so think about this temple that we got now, that we have through the Spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai cleansed, right? Because you're not in that old man, because you're not who you used to be when you was in the world, but now that you're a new creature through the Spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, we celebrate that dedication, right? Because now we got a new temple, right? We got a new temple. Because we cleansed ourselves from all the way when we start keeping the commandments, having Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, right? So we gotta be joyous of that, man, right? It's feastation as in the altar, the altar that was polluted before, right? And now think about the altar right now, this right here that has been polluted, right? By the place, by every the lifestyle that we have lived, right? Whether you was smoking weed, lustful or fornicator, covetousness, idolatrous, whatever it may have been, homosexual, whatever it may have been, right? And then you changed your life, right? You cleaned yourself up, right? You cleaned the temple, right? Right? And now we dedicated back to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, right? And it says, then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, right? Who had given them good success. So you want to be throwing up prayers to the Most High, right? Giving thanks. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High that you're not back in the world. Praise the Most High. Thank Him that He woke you up. that he told that now he put in your spirit that you're an Israelite. Praise him, give him thanks. Right? Give the Lord thanks. Be thankful for who you are now. Right? All praise Yahweh Shemel Shai for changing our lives, man. Right? It says, man, it's beautiful, man. And so they kept the altar, right, 8 days. It's an 8-day feast. So, right, so now we got the backdrop. Right? We looked at, okay, it came around the time of Judas Maccabees, right? We learned about him a little bit, about things he did, right? We know who defiled the temple. Antiochus, he defiled the temple, right? Then Judas Maccabees, they got control over it. Like after 3 years, they got control of Jerusalem, right? They cleansed the temple. They got all the old stuff out, all the defiled and profane things. They threw them out, right? Now they got their symbols. They got their harps. Right, we know it's on the. We know it's on the. It starts on the 25th day at the 9th month. We know that, right? So now we're understanding that. Okay, boom, boom. Now we understand. All right, now these people, they keep it with joyous. They feasting. They happy. They with gladness. They praising the Most High. Right. This is the spirit to be in feast dedication. Right. Understanding what our forefathers did to cleanse His temple. Right. They had to, and they was not mind you. He had people fighting people that was in the fortress at the time. That's what we read. Right? He had people that was fighting, right, helping fight in the fortress while they was cleansing the temple, right? So we gotta be fighting in the spirit, right? And also building ourselves up in the spirit, fighting in the spirit, building ourselves up in the spirit, fighting in the spirit, and building up in the spirit. Right? And that's what we gotta. It's like it's saying trying to take away the word, man. It's madness. Right, so we got to make sure that every aspect of our temple, right, we renewing it, right? We got to renew our mind. We got to renew our thoughts, everything. We got to renew every aspect of our bodies, right? Through the spirit of you understanding what I'm saying, right? Just like how they did, they renewed everything, right? The hinges on the doors, everything. Let me get this precept in Revelation, chapter 3. Right, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 3, and verse number 2. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die, for I have not found thy works perfect before Yahweh. Right, so we gotta strengthen the things that remain. We gotta strengthen those things, and the things that will remain from the temple, and they renewed them, they strengthened them, and that's what we gotta do through the Spirit. We gotta renew ourselves and strengthen ourselves through the Spirit, right? Of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Right, it says it says, and thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. So we gotta be glad and joyous in this, right? Be joyous of the feast dedication, man. Right, it says moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days from the 25th day of the month of Caslu with mirth and gladness. Right? So that's how you keep the feast dedication, right? You know about the history, because you got to know the history, the backdrop on it, right? You know the history, right? You know when it is, 25th day of the 9th month, right? And then now you know the spirit to be in, right? So, Lord willing, that was edifying, right? And brothers and sisters know the kind of spirits to be in during the feast dedication, man, and to understand the spiritual aspect of the feast of dedication as in rededicating this temple, right? See how about Shem outside cleansing it from the old ways, the old things, that old man that we used to do, right? And rededicating it and renewing it, right? With the chief cornerstone, right? Which is Yahweh Shah, man. So, Lord, like I said, Lord willing, that was edifying, and I might get one more precept before I close out. See if I get a closing precept. Let me see. Right. Let me get the it says this. Let me get Psalms 118. Psalms 118 and 10. I'm gonna close out after this. Right. Psalms 118 and 10. Psalms 118 and 10. Let's see what we're gonna get. Let's see what we're gonna get. Psalm 118 and 10. Right? It says, Salakia, hold on. Psalm 118 and 10. Oh, 118 and 22. It says, the stone which the builders refuse is become the head stone of the corner. Right? So the stone that the builders refuse, man, let that be the chief cornerstone of your life. Right? That is Yahweh Shai. Right? Let him be the chief cornerstone of your life. Right? Let me get 1 Peter 2 and 4. Let me get another precept. 1 Peter 2 and 4. All right. 1 Peter 2 and 4. Dang. Look at this. Bear with 1 Peter 2 and 4. My Bible kind of little. Oof. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. It says, to whom coming as unto living stone, right, disallowed the deed of men, but chosen. That's not really what I was looking for. Yeah, 6. Wherefore it is to be contained in the scripture, behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect precious, and he that believeth will not be confounded. Right? So we gotta make sure that the cornerstone the stones that you out, that you after you done took out all those old stones, the foul stones of the world, that stone that you replace it with need to be Yahweh Shai. That's the chief cornerstone, right? That precious stone that you need to renew the temple with, right? But with that, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. I want to be a brother, sister, mighty Shalom, right? And hope, Lord willing, that video was edifying, right? Of how to keep feast dedication, history on it, when it is, and how to keep it. Shalom.